Hello, it is Thursday, November 26th, and it's 4 p.m, which means it's time for the Etch Play weekly live show, your weekly dose of all the latest industry news and discussion. I'm your host, Adam Burt, and I'm joined for the news by Dan Thomas. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are we doing?
Good. It's less than a month till Christmas, and depending on who you are, that's either terrifying or exciting.
I think everybody is just crawling to that end of the year finish line, and I think we all deserve a nice rest for making it.
Yeah, we are super ready for the end of the year and for a new one to begin. I mean, 2021, how bad could it be? What's the worst that could happen?
Well, we now know.
Let's get into it with some news. Surprisingly light on news this week, actually, considering it's Q4 towards the end of the year. A lot of big games usually come out around this time. But we've got some news about some award ceremonies, which we'll go through in a second. And stick around because later on we're playing Fuser, tempting the DMCA copyright strike gods. And we're also going to be talking about copyright, so talking about recent issues on Twitch around DMCA takedowns, which will be very interesting. Ben Jones will join me for that in a bit. Starting with the news then, start with something exciting. You may remember we mentioned this a few weeks ago. There was talk about a Last of Us TV series, and it's now been officially greenlit. It's progressing at HBO, creators of such TV shows as Game of Thrones and other things that people like. What's the one with the cowboys? Westworld. They do that, don't they? The project is under the watch of Chernobyl's Craig Mazin. If you watched Chernobyl last year, that was a good show. And the game's writer Neil Druckmann's involved, obviously alongside PlayStation and Naughty Dog themselves more generally. Dan, are you excited for a Last of Us TV show?
Very much so. I'm a sucker for video game tie-ins, and I think, as we discussed before, I think the quality bar is just increasing all the time with kind of TV shows in general. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Great IP to have access to. So bring it on, I say.
And it's a great example of the extended experience, something that we talk about a lot, which is the idea that you can take a game's DNA and imbue various parts of your kind of marketing with that, whether that's social posts or companion apps or things like TV shows and comic books and other forms, other mediums. So it'll be really exciting to see how that works out for them. Good luck to everyone involved. Craig Mazin's a good writer. Chernobyl was really good, so I've got high hopes as well. Over on the Apple side of the fence, I've got some positive news about Apple for a change. Usually it's talking about all their legal fights that they're in. And maybe as a response to that, they've announced this gesture of goodwill, if you will. The company is lowering the App Store fee, essentially, the cut that they take. They're halving it from 30% to 15% for any developers who earn under $1 million in annual revenue from their apps. And also if you're new to the store, so they have no record of your revenue to date, that would be the cost for a new app. Change goes into effect on January 1st, I mean, it seems like it's a reaction to some of the legal challenges they've faced, but it's also very good news for developers.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually this is a positive outcome from, two big monolithic enterprises going toe to toe, and actually the underdogs actually benefit from this, which is, I really like that outcome. And it is kind of a bit, Apple can be like, yeah, okay, Epic, that's your point. Well, we'll benefit people, but obviously we know Fortnite on the App Store is going to be generating far more than $1 million a year, so they're not going to get any benefit from it, but they are having the impact that they referred to. I think that's great news and huge impact for in any mobile game devs who have released a game. You're essentially doubling your revenue potential, which is nice. Really good.
It's obviously, for those of you who are not familiar, need a little refresher. Epic Games have taken Apple to court in the States about these fees, but also they're facing antitrust regulation in the European Union as well. So there's obviously discussions happening at Apple about how to navigate those waters and come out successfully without being made out to be the bad guys. Another week, another delay. Every single week there has to be at least one game delayed due to COVID, and this week was no exception. The casualty this week is Annapurna Interactive's 12 Minutes, which I was really excited for. This game's coming to PC and the Xbox family of consoles, and it's about a 12-minute long time loop. They got Hollywood talent for the game, including Willem Dafoe and James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley to voice the characters. And Annapurna are the publishers of games like Outer Wilds and other such indie darlings that you might remember from recent years. So always excited to see what they do, and it's a shame that we won't get that this year. Sounds like it's quite a small delay though. They're saying early 2021. It's just the finishing touches, and hopefully that turns out good.
We talked about this last week. Kind of the games industry generally benefiting from everybody being stuck at home playing games, but the actual production cycles severely impacted. Our best to Annapurna. I think we're all big fans of their work. So good luck with
can't wait to see
finishing that.
Elsewhere, Nintendo have landed themselves in maybe what you describe as slightly hot water with fans this week for shutting down a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament. So to give you some context, if you're not familiar with the Smash community, Super Smash Bros. Is a very popular fighting game, and Smash Melee has its own devoted subset of fans. But the game is not easy to play online in its native form, and obviously this year of all years, difficult to do tournament in person. So fans turned to a program called Slippy to play an emulated version in an online fashion, and emulation is generally legal as long as you own the game. You're allowed to back it up to a computer. That's protected at least in US copyright law. Piracy obviously is illegal, and that's what Nintendo were concerned about in this case. They were concerned that all these copies weren't necessarily legitimate, and they've claimed that the entire emulation process is illegal, which is a bit of a legal grey area. So it's been shut down, which is bad news for Smash fans, bad news for any of the causes. There were some charitable causes I believe they were raising money for as part of this tournament as well. Not necessarily a good outcome for anyone there. And it's Nintendo have always been a bit of an enigma when it comes to these kind of communities and supporting their fan bases. They have very ardent fans, but they're also not necessarily always the best at managing those communities and setting expectations.
I definitely feel like Nintendo is the exception that proves the rule. They seem to kind of misstep on how to foster and harbour a community, how to treat your audience, and kind of in recent years especially, there's been this kind of be mindful of being the evil corporate overlord, but they tend not to fall in line with that mantra. But they're Nintendo, and they can get away with it. People will still love them.
They will, and it's worth noting that there is precedent elsewhere. So Capcom, for example, have famously turned a blind eye to Street Fighter emulation in the past. So every game company's got to decide for themselves what the right thing to do is there. I do think it sounds to me like a missed opportunity to make fans happy in a very difficult year. So what are you going to do? Nintendo going to Nintendo.
That's it.
Over at Valve, we don't get to talk about Valve too much. They're relatively secretive for most of the time, but they had some community drama this week. So this is around Dota 2, a very popular online game, and a player posted on Reddit, of all places, claiming they had been sent to low priority. That's a form of ban or punishment, essentially, where you get it's like a matchmaking penalty. So you're not allowed to match into games as who you want to play as or with who you want to play with for a period of time. And he essentially alleged that Sean Vanneman, one of the co-creators of Firewatch, who's now a Valve employee, got upset with him during the game, got a little bit heated in discussion, and banned him unfairly or sent him to low priority unfairly. Sean Vanneman has actually now publicly replied and said that the team investigated and concluded the user clearly did not deserve the ban. And even if the user did deserve a ban, we all think it's clear that manually banning users is not a good idea because of how hard it is to be objective while playing Dota games. He apologised to the user and says that it's resulting in a change in Valve policy, so Valve employees would no longer have the power to issue manual bans to players that they play against. That's quite a strange case. You don't hear about that very often. I mean, it might be the first time it's ever happened, or it might have been happening and we've just not heard about it
not
before.
known about it. I think it's it's very interesting that the industry itself kind of to consider that type of scenario, because people who get into the games industry are obviously very often a they're passionate people about games and gaming, and those kind of he's obviously got invested in his game, and he's got bought in and frustrated and taken perhaps the not the best action. And I think as games as an industry is growing up, these kinds of policies and approaches to those kind of situations are only going to get more formalized and organized as those kind of cases occur. It's always been a very much, oh yeah, we're a high passion industry, and perhaps it's not as professional, for want of a better term, as more archaic sectors, should we say. But there are, as such a big industry now, there are more and more eyes on it, more and more legislation coming in, so those kind of behaviors are going to need to be managed, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think it just highlights, just how much you're in the public eye when you work for a popular games company. Like, you can't afford to put a foot wrong in public because people will find it. So keep your nose clean if you work for a major video game developer or publisher, and maybe have some social management training or Twitter training to make sure you're not saying things that you are going to regret.
Absolutely.
Some awards to talk about, which is fun. First of all, the Golden Joysticks were this week, and we would like to extend our sincere congratulations to our friends at Hello Games. They have won Best Game Expansion at the Golden Joysticks. This is for No Man's Origins, an update they released earlier this year, I believe. And yeah, congratulations to Sean and the team, everyone at Hello Games. We're very proud of you, and we love working with you.
Absolutely. It's so good to see them still getting that recognition. That game is now 4 years, really over 4 years that released. So it's great for them to be setting the bar so high for how to run, and we talk about the idea of long life games. And yeah, well done to them for sure.
Yeah. We also had the Tiger Awards this week. So this celebrates the industry itself. Some things you might have heard of. So Foam Sword won for creativity in games with their game Knights and Bikes, which I know you're a big fan of, Dan.
Yes, definitely.
And friends of Etch Play, Liquid Crimson, congratulations on your win for Best Art Animation Trailer Supplier. There's some slashes in there, art/animation/trailer. Check them out if you are interested in trailers or animation. They do great stuff.
They do.
And lastly, rounding out the awards, something to celebrate for everybody. Yesterday was also the Women in Gaming Awards, organised by NCV. Winners including Elle Osili Wood, Hannah Rose, Caroline Forsberg, and Cheryl Roselle. Congratulations to all the women nominated and recognised by the awards. We're really happy for you, and really happy to see that the industry can celebrate the contribution that women have been making for a long time, and continue to make strides towards equality. I'm going to put a link to those winners actually in the chat, so you can check out more of those winners of the Women in Games Awards if you want. And yeah, anything else you'd like to add to that, Dan?
Just, I think it's great. In all of those awards that we mentioned, there have been kind of what we refer to games for good kind of related categories. So diversity awards and outstanding contribution awards, all these kinds of new categories being created to really highlight and reward these positive behaviors that we want to see from game studios, and kind of just move away from not just celebrating those studios who've crunched the hardest, made the most money, and the traditional categories. So yeah, I think that's a really positive indicator to see for the industry. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah. That brings us to the end of the news, and shortly Ben Joy will be joining the show to talk all about copyright on Twitch, and we're on Twitch, so hopefully what we say is original and not copied. But in the meantime, we're going to throw to a game which actually has some copyright risk involved in it. This is Fuser. It's a new DJing game from Harmonix, and I played this the other day, and I recorded a bunch of footage. So this is about 10 minutes of the game, which I think is enjoyable. Hopefully you like the music, and stick around, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes' time. Hey, this is Fuser by Harmonix of Rock Band fame. They make music games. Fuser's a game all about DJing. I'm going to DJ live but not live because I'm recording it half live. It's going out on the live show, probably. Actually, will it? I don't know if I can even play this on the live show. It's there's so much recorded music in here. I feel like Twitch might shut down our channel if I put it on there. So maybe this will go on YouTube as a special treat. At least there they can just demonetize it. And we're going to get into it. This is at the very beginning of the game, basically. I just got this. I think it's awesome, so I want to show you guys how much fun I'm having with it. And yeah, let's start DJing, shall we?
Your first show is going to be great. I bet you'll be playing headliner slots in no time. Maybe even TK Sun stage one day. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Start with the basics. I agree. What should we start with? Bit of 50 Cent, bit of Rick Astley.
Unbelievable.
So I'm getting objectives in the bottom right corner. And this is the first mission, so it's really pretty easy. Okay, that's enough to time our disc drops perfectly. 4 beats make a bar, bit of music theory. See about this, shall we? Smash Mouth, it's got to be done. Let's try it. I'm not really sure why it's saying drop on a downbeat, so I feel like I'm doing it. There we go. Must have been slightly out of time. Messed that one up. You can probably hear that it's doing something in the background to make these sound, you know, the right key. It's hard to get the downbeats right. Oh man, I'm not good at this, am I?
That's why don't love yourself and regret. Just love yourself and you said I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way, baby. I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way. Right track, baby. I was born.
I got a new life. You would hardly recognize me. I'm so glad. Oh yeah. Take me to your best friend's house. I loved you then, I love you now. Oh yeah. Looking for some hot stuff, baby, this evening. I need some hot stuff.
She only tell you I'm loco. And the plan is to put the rap game in the choke on full of focus. Stabs filling my flow.
Super hot.
Ready to go, yeah. Party full of bug, mama, I got what you need if you need to fill a bar. I'm in the having sex, I ain't into making love, so come give me a hug. If you're getting rough, you can find me in the club. Party full of bug, mama, I got what you need if you need to fill a bar. I'm in the having sex, I ain't into making love, so come give me a hug. If you're into getting rough.
There you go.
My show brought me the dope, that brought me all my fancy things, my crib, my car, my clothes, my jewels. I done came home and I ain't changed. And you should love way more than you hate it. Oh, you mad? I thought that you be happy I made it. I'm that cat by the bar, toasting to the good. Like, moved out the hood, now you tryna pull me back. I'm all about front, you see the Benz on good. And I roll 20 deep, so I'm drama in the club. Now that I'm on the train, everybody show me love. You sell like them, when you put me love. But homie ain't nothing changed, roll down, G's up. We give it in the cutting, man, roll the trees up. Watch how I move, step before I play up here. Been hit with a few shells, now I walk with a limp. In the hood, in the ladies ain't 50, you hot. They like me, I want them to love me, like they love pop. But how late we y'all tell you I'm loco. And the plan is to put the rap game in the choke on. Put the focus, man, keep my money on my mind. Got a meal like the
My first set. This is Fuser by Harmonix, and yeah, it's great. Loads of fun. It just feels really good when you're like vibing with it and you manage to like make something that sounds decent. And we are back. You're watching the Etch Play Weekly live show, and that was Fuser by Harmonix. There's actually like half an hour more of that video, and it's going to be playing on YouTube right after this show. So if you liked that, if you want to watch some more DJing, some more DJ moves, here's some more Smash Mouth, whatever it is you want, the video has that for you, and it's up on YouTube in a few minutes' time. So I'll send you there after the show, and you can watch some more. But right now, Ben Joy is joining me to talk about copyright on Twitch. Ben Joy, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me again. Been a few weeks. I've been off for a while.
Yeah, it has.
Welcome to
You've been. Where have you been?
I've
Leeds.
been here, there, and everywhere. Leeds, yeah. But I'm back for a little bit, so yeah, good to be back.
Okay.
I think you've got a future career in DJ.
I hope so. I hope that you can get a career just from playing Fuser and they just pay me. That's what I want to do. I want to just put Jolene and Smash Mouth together, and then I want to claim money for that process.
Yeah, the Fuser esports.
Ben, your microphone sounds a little bit crackly to me. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do about it at your end. Maybe give it a wiggle.
Maybe.
While he does that, allow me to be your guide as an introduction to the world of copyright issues with streaming, specifically around Twitch, although we'll mention some of the other platforms as well. So you may have heard about this in the news. Twitch recently faced a lot of criticism in October after deleting a large number of videos over copyright claims with very little warning. So Twitch acknowledged the deletions gave affected streamers no option to respond or seek a retraction, and in an update posted recently, they've apologised for how they've handled it. But the fact remains that a lot of videos are now getting copyright strikes that weren't before, and Twitch have offered some data about that. So until May of this year, streamers received fewer than 50 music-related DMCA notifications each year on Twitch. However, in May of this year, representatives for major record labels started sending thousands of notifications each week that targeted creators' archives, mostly snippets of tracks in year-old clips. We continue to receive large batches of notifications, say Twitch, and we don't expect this to slow down. Twitch claimed that this caught them by surprise and they weren't expecting to receive these takedowns, which I think is maybe a little bit naive to think that the record company would never come after you for this and that it was fine because they never had before. Your microphone still sounds awful, Ben. We might have to...
it's making noise while I'm not even saying anything.
Yeah, it just sounds really crackly the whole time.
That's annoying that it was fine on the sound check.
Yeah, we do a sound check. We're a very professional outfit. While Ben's playing with cables, some more details here. After analysing the DMCA notifications, and I think this is really interesting. So Twitch analysed all these, thousands of requests they were getting. Virtually all of them, more than 99%, were for music that was simply playing in the background of streams. So this is stuff that you would imagine would be considered transformative or fair use. If you're just going to stream an album and not add anything to it, that is probably illegal. If you're doing a stream that happens to contain music, that's probably fine. And we know that game companies, especially, if they've claimed the license to the song, you're making it worse every time you touch it.
Oh god.
Do you have any other microphones available?
No, the only one I have is if I swap between my laptop the mic on there, or I see whether the headset works better in there, so I can try that.
Yeah, mute yourself for a bit and have a little play, have a chat with Dan, and maybe if necessary we'll tag you out. I'll keep things going in the meantime. So yeah, while Ben's muted. So yeah, as I was saying, game companies often do secure the licenses to this, and Fuser is a great example. Harmonix have secured the rights to that music, and they have secured permission for that game to be streamed. So from Harmonix's point of view, it's totally okay for you to play, as long as you're not, making mad profit or promoting things that are outside the terms of use. If you're being racist or something, or if you're promoting a competing product, then they might take a different view. But their general default position is that Fuser is okay to stream, which is why we've taken the risk today. However, the problem in all cases really is automated systems. So where Facebook have quite a lot of manual moderation, and we'll talk about YouTube's system in a second, Twitch's system is automated and offers little recourse to people who get striked. We've actually been striked, not properly striked before, but we've been muted on some of our videos for short clips of in-game audio that we believe that we do have permission to use. I have actually, in one instance, filed a counterclaim to be like, "This, we're totally allowed to do this," and I just never heard back. But clearly it's a growing problem, and more people are complaining about this, and Twitch were forced to respond. They have said they're working on more tools, both from an education standpoint to educate streamers about what is acceptable and what they can do, and also hopefully a system that enables people to respond. Because I think the problem is, Twitch can't be held responsible for people filing incorrect claims, but they can be responsible for making sure that it's as easy as possible for you to respond and be like, "No, I have the license. Here's a link to where they say it's definitely fine for me to use it," or any kind of agreement that you've signed. YouTube have obviously gone through this problem, and they have their own gaming section. They have arrived at what you might call a nicer middle ground. So it is possible to get badly copyright striked on YouTube. It kind of depends on what the rights holder decides to do. But in the majority of cases, you'll find they use a system called Content ID, which basically allows the content rights holder to specify what should happen. And most of the time, at least in my experience and the experience of other people that I've spoken to, they basically adjust where the revenue goes for the video. So if you have a monetized video, they'll send the money to the person who owns the copyright. They also allow you to track the video stats, so you can tell whether it's a big deal. You could be like, this video's got 100 views, we don't care. Or this video's got 2 million views, and it's just our movie in full that we produced. So let's take that down, or take a different view of it. So YouTube's system is relatively mature compared to Twitch's, and I don't think Twitch have a particularly good excuse for not having a mature system at this point. You know, this is Jeff Bezos money we're talking about here. But you would expect that they would be able to develop something, and it sounds like they're working on it. To be fair to them, it does sound like they're working on it. And I acknowledge that I'm criticising Twitch while using Twitch. Twitch is a fantastic platform, and we love it. But there's clearly things need to improve around this. One last note for me, and before I try and get Ben back involved and see if his microphone's any better. Some games have begun offering a toggle for turning off copyrighted music. So this is in the game itself, allowing you to disable music which is copyright protected. Fortnite did this a while ago, actually. But recently, high-profile games like Cyberpunk 2077. I need to get a cyber tongue so I can say words correctly. And also interesting, I heard some chat the other day about Tony Hawk's. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remaster, had a lot of licensed music in it, and people are theorising that game has suffered from a sales and marketing perspective because people won't stream it because they're worried about the music in the game. And then we should note that even in these cases, they're not foolproof systems, so you could turn off copyrighted music, but people have been, got for things like a siren, which you might hear on my stream sometimes. I'm near a main road, but sirens sounding too much like a copyrighted Foley and sound effects pack. Like, people can get striked for that. So it's a system that's rife with a lot of false positives, which is problematic, and we need to find a way to deal with that. Ben, give us a few words of speech.
Please tell me you can hear me now.
I can hear you now, and I no longer want to rip my ears off. Thank you to all the viewers who stuck with us through the technical difficulties.
Yes,
Ben,
apologies.
Let's talk about copyright, Ben.
Yep.
And we know to copyright that. Anyone who does a video that sounds like crap, we've got the copyright. We're going to come for
we
you.
own it. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? As you said, it's it's a largely not a broken system, but it's certainly not a well-functioning system yet. Whether you can put that down to the infancy of Twitch in the grand scheme of things, as I heard you say when I was messing around with cables, that it's not new, so it's kind of as much as they can say it was taken them by surprise. It shouldn't have been a surprise because this is always going to happen. But it's a difficult one. Copyright is a really, really difficult thing, no matter what. As you said, there's a lot of them which were picked up from songs, just people playing them in the background, which is kind of like, well, you are broadcasting that music and you don't have the license, but you're not. Yeah. It's not like if I was streaming something and I just happen to have a bit of Billy Joel playing in the background. I'm not using Billy Joel to promote myself or saying, hey, come listen to me do this Billy Joel concert. And I'm really aging myself there from an era I didn't live through.
Ben Joy, the 60-year-old man.
But it's it's a really difficult one, because if it picks it up that you're using that music, which technically you are, but you're not using it for any real personal gain, it's a real, I don't know, it feels like it's a grey area where you would think on paper there isn't a grey area. Either you're breaking copyright or you're not, but it is a very, very grey area. And as you're saying with the Tony Hawk games, like, that's crazy. Like, if you're streaming that game, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you haven't gone out and gone, right, I'm going to play this song specifically on my stream. It's the game that's doing that. And yeah, it's a really difficult one. There was a thing the other week.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, the Tony Hawk example is a really good example, because the people who make these games want you to stream them. Like, it's not like streaming is this. I mean, maybe when it started it was. Streaming is no longer the preserve of, like, oh, it's just like, weird people in the internet doing weird internet things. It's a really key part of, like, a video game launch strategy, of a marketing strategy. Like these companies want you to play their games. Nobody's there like, oh, they're playing. Well, maybe some companies occasionally, not naming names, don't understand that. But generally speaking, they want you to play and they want you to stream. So it's a system that currently doesn't benefit gamers and doesn't benefit studios or publishers either.
No, it's a really funny one. What I was going to say is that there was the controversial comment which got absolutely shot down the other month. Where it was like, well, technically, if you're playing a game on Twitch, you're breaking copyright because you're streaming something that's not your IP. And it's kind of like, well, if you go that granular and you go that black and white, then technically yes. But as you just said, like, well, you know the case. People want game companies for the most part want you to stream their games. So you would never no one would ever pull you up for that. But it's a similar thing. It's, you know, if you go that black and white, technically, by the laws of copyright, you could be copyright infringing. So it's a really difficult one where you draw the line. And when we said we were going to talk about it this week, I was looking at things like, well, how do people on like TikTok get away with it? Like when the crazes go around and it's like, oh, well, you know, it's the dance craze to this song. It's like, well, how is that not getting picked up by copyright? But if I'm playing some sweet Billy Joel tracks in the background, I'm going to get knocked off of Twitch. So.
Do you want to pimp a Billy Joel TikTok here? Is that where you're
I'm
going
a
with
huge. I've got Billy Joel on the brain. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, and I've been listening to him this week. And
For the viewers at home who don't know, Billy Joel is a musician.
What? Who doesn't know Billy Joel?
Ask your parents about Billy Joel. But yeah, no, you're looking into TikTok, and how do they handle it?
Yeah. So it was a little bit. I kind of got some like myths, and people were saying different things. Like some people were saying, like, "Oh, well, TikTok has a 15-second license, whereas if it's under 15 seconds, it's fine." It's like, well, then other people's like, "Well, no, that's a complete myth. That doesn't exist, and it's just because it's really new." And like, I guess with Twitch, like, it's taking a while for the record companies to catch up. It becomes really, really difficult, and it's really difficult to police, which I guess is why there is so many flaws in these systems and why it hasn't been nailed down. In that, if it's not going to be manual, because it's not going to be able to be manual, there's just no way. It's not possible to do it on a manual basis. It has to be somewhat automated, and it then becomes, as you said, really difficult to pick up. Okay, if someone's just playing a song in the background, they're not doing it, or if someone's literally going, "Come to my channel and I'm going to do a concert with this band and play their album, you know, front to back." It's really difficult. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't even think the lawyers know the full answer, to be honest, because of the difficulties that we see with this. But it's definitely difficult for streamers.
One of Twitch's points, which is a good point, is that, you know, it doesn't matter if you get a tweet from Kanye West and he says, "Yeah, stream my music." Like, he's not the only person in that chain who, well, he doesn't really own most of it, and I know that recently he's been trying to, but artists for the most part often don't own their music, so it doesn't necessarily, even if you happen to get a confirmation from a singer, even doesn't necessarily guarantee you that the people who own the rights, which is usually a record label, are happy with it.
And for people who don't know who Kanye West is,
ask your kids.
What is that reference?
Well, you can't compare Kanye West to Billy Joel.
No, Billy Joel is far superior.
Well, okay, we'll stop there before we start attracting fans of either of those two musicians.
Don't want to start a war.
Exactly. Ben, thank you for joining me.
Yes, apologies again for my terrible sound quality. Sod's law that it happened as we went live, not when we checked it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like stuff like that because it proves that we do the show live. Like, people might be wondering, oh, the show is it's so slick and professional. It's got to be pre-recorded. They're doing editing on this. But stuff like that, you're like, well, they're definitely not faking it.
Yeah.
Speaking of faking it, however, we will be faking it next week for the first time ever. We all have a company meeting to go to. So next week's show will happen, but it will be pre-recorded in its entirety. I apologise for that. So you get none of Ben's bad mic, all of the usual goodness, slightly delayed. We'll record it on Thursday morning, I imagine. But we'd love to have you back. And if you want to watch that and you don't follow us yet on, the video network of your choice, this is your chance. The follow button on Twitch, if you're watching live, is right below us right now. You could press it right now and make everyone happy. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're a catch-up person. You're watching this back, maybe you're Chromecasting it to a big TV so you can see me DJing in all my glory. I understand. You can subscribe on YouTube as well. And there's a little bell icon you can click to get notified when we go live or post new videos. We'll be back next week at 4 p.m, slightly less live than usual, but still here with all the latest industry news and discussion. I've been Adam Burt, and I've been joined today by Dan Thomas and Ben Joy, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.